Hello, good morning, and welcome to Vacancy with Alibaba. I'm standing in for Alibaba today, and co-hosting with me is Ivie, our in-house HR expert.
Good morning. It's good to be back. Hope you guys are having a very wonderful day.
Thank you. Ali is unfortunately unable to be with us today for work reasons, but he'll be here next week, I can assure you, and then we can continue this conversation. But today also I have with us two wonderful guests who are joining us today, even as we continue our conversations around health, the health sector. So I'll just allow them introduce themselves. Hello.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Abimbola Adibaking. I'm CEO of Advantage Health Africa.
Welcome, Abimbola.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the show.
Hi, good morning. My name is Michelle Bello, and I also work with Advantage Health Africa.
Okay, welcome. So this morning we have a very, very fantastic layout of issues that we're going to be talking about. And again, as always on Vacancy with Alibaba, there are things that I know that you're looking forward to. And I can assure you that if you stay with us, you're going to have a good time. So we're just going to take a break and then we will come right back. Okay, welcome back. So we'll just go right ahead and have the conversation. 2 weeks ago, we started talking about the health sector and the opportunities that are within the health sector and how the issue of unemployment we're trying to segment into sectors and see how we could create opportunities or look for those opportunities that perhaps people aren't looking at. And so today that Abimbola and Michelle are joining us, we're still within the health sector and we want to talk about the opportunities. So I know that you are focused on the pharmaceutical part of health. Are there opportunities within that particular space within the health sector?
Definitely, there are a lot of opportunities. Mm-hmm. The pharmaceutical healthcare sector it's got a lot of challenges. Mm-hmm. And as you see it, where there are challenges, there are opportunities. Mm-hmm. We have the mainstream provision of mm-hmm. care, mm-hmm. pharmaceutical care, at the hospital level, at the retail pharmacy level, mm-hmm. and you also have the producers, so the manufacturing level, mm-hmm. the academics, as well as in administration, public mm-hmm. and private administration. Mm-hmm. However, in all of the value chain of pharmaceutical care, we have support needs. Mm-hmm. We need technology that is mm-hmm. tailored for pharmaceutical care. Mm-hmm. We need capacity development needs mm-hmm. for pharmaceutical care to be rendered as it should. Mm-hmm. We need business support needs because even the entities, we need economic empowerment. Mm. And those who are able to serve the pharmaceutical sector, particularly pharmacists who can do those things, have opportunities to create jobs for themselves and for others. So
is there an awareness around this? Because we have a lot of people coming out of school, exactly. They studied pharmacy, they just either want to work in a hospital or
they just change sector completely.
Or they change sector completely.
So that awareness is growing. Part of the work we do at Advantage Health Africa mm-hmm. is we're building awareness to see opportunities, mm-hmm. to also understand that you must become entrepreneurial in your mindset. Mm-hmm. Many of the challenges that would force you to just limit your view to working in a hospital because it pays better, or force you to actually take up an opportunity outside of the sector. Some of those things are begging for attention. Mm-hmm. So I speak at schools to final year students that when you come out, the reality is very far from what you are seeing right now. And when you come out, be equipped to see these challenges as opportunities. Also, you must develop yourself. You must embrace new knowledge. The internet is available right now for you to study new aspects, for you to come in with a marketing perspective to a pharmacy and then do things different, for you to bring a branding perspective, for you to bring a human capacity development perspective, finance management perspective. All of these things add up. And so the awareness is increasing.
So have we gone from having, in those days we used to have what we know as chemists, community chemists. And I think that I don't know if we had pharmacists then, but we knew the matrons and the chemists that, you know, had this community chemist. Don't you think that that's also an issue? Because we're going to look at the HR perspective of this, but don't you think that's an issue? So, as Ivie said, so they train as pharmacists, they come out, they don't see the opportunities.
Cool.
So they leave the sector completely, or they're looking for hospitals to work at. So just, you have mentioned that there are opportunities, but what should they, the opportunities are immense, obviously, but are these things that they should be thinking about, really, in terms of, again, changing the mindset that the community pharmacists around you are no longer the chemists that we used to know before now.
Okay. Let me mention 3 things. So back then we had fewer pharmacists, and therefore there was a gap. And to create a stopgap, it was in the wisdom of the regulators then to enable things called patent medicine stores. That's what people typically call the chemist. So a patent medicine store is really recommended where there are no pharmacies. But now we have more pharmacies in the urban centers and a few in the rural or suburban areas.
Do we have enough?
So we don't have enough. Right now, the statistics say that we have about 5,000 pharmacies serving the whole population. Wow. Ideally, if you take the standards, we should have at least 200,000. So there's now a concerted effort. There's concerted effort to jumpstart, to leapfrog from 5,000 to 200,000. Yes, technology is now being introduced where we have online medicines that are available and you can actually get prescription medicines. So that will fill a particular gap. But the brick and mortar is still so important. So the brick and mortar can only survive when we have sufficient numbers of pharmacists that can man those premises. Right now, the numbers that we have about 14,000 pharmacists in all across
the whole
Nigeria.
Of Nigeria.
Yes. So we need more.
But we have a huge number coming out every year.
We have about 2,000 coming out every year. Unfortunately, we have a paradox. We have gaps that need to be filled by pharmacists, yet we have pharmacists leaving the sector to other sectors. So we must find a solution. Some don't want to. Some realize that, look, I've been so well trained. The pharmacist is a beautifully, perfectly well-trained machine regarding medicines. And so that person feels that I need to plug in my knowledge somewhere. And if I can't, I'll go elsewhere, learn a new thing, and excel there. But we want pharmacists to stay here, excel in the business of pharmacy, and excel in the practice of pharmacy. We want them to understand the big picture, not just a narrow view. We want them to see how they can be mentored to then add value in a way that is measurable. So I said the numbers are not enough. We must grow the numbers. The schools of pharmacy are doing that, but we also want to retain them, which is the work that we're doing with the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria.
I think for me, what is informative is typically we would say there are no competent people, but there are jobs. So here we're seeing that there are jobs and there are competent people, but obviously the pharmaceutical companies are not thinking, let's bring these people on board. Or even if they decide to hire, there are no proper HR structures to keep these people in place. So what are pharmacies doing about that? It's not enough for you to say, I want to hire. So when I put up an advertisement, how much am I willing to pay? Why should a pharmacist who has gone to school for 5 years, 6 years come and say, I want to work with you? Because really we have to face the fact money is an issue in Nigeria.
Money
so,
is a big issue.
So it isn't peculiar to pharmacy. so many industries underpay and expect a lot. Yes, but in pharmacy we are seeing that the solution really is to up our game.
Okay.
When the biggest employers in terms of numbers are really the community pharmacies. Remember, I still mentioned 5,000. There's still more. And so the manufacturers can also hire quite a number. And you see the manufacturers, at least the larger ones, tend to have a structure around that because they are building huge institutions. But the community pharmacies are building small enterprises. And so the small enterprises have a challenge of building all of the required ingredients on their own. So right now we're aggregating, for example, they're still independent, but we're promoting an aggregation of some of your processes. So your human capacity development areas. So for example, from onboarding them, recruiting them, onboarding them, building a capacity development plan, and then implementing that, even monitoring their rewards and all that. All that is now coming into their attention.
Thankfully.
And this is being done at the level of the association where we're bringing the awareness to that acquisition of skills. It is vital, And it's a long journey. We've just started, but it's a long journey. And some have done it quite well. But we're saying that shouldn't be just in pockets. It should be widespread.
Okay, Michelle, let me just ask you. At least every single one of us, we go to pharmacies around our communities. And a big issue is customer service. So this whole idea of, there's always the thing around, look, you're doing me a favor, because by the time I get to a pharmacy or a hospital, I'm not okay.
You're not okay.
So I need your help.
Yeah.
And customer service is a big issue. It's a big
Very
issue.
big.
How people are treated, how people are responded to, and it's all about value. So Abimbola has talked about the things that are happening within the sector, but it's about value.
Yeah.
What kind of value can be brought to bear, particularly in that regard? Because these are opportunities. We're talking about, remember we're talking about vacancies.
Yeah.
These are opportunities that are within a particular sector. I would like you to talk more about that.
Okay. I'd like to hammer more on integrity. As a pharmacist, you're not just there to sell. You've gone to school, you've gone to uni, had all this process along. So what do you offer when people walk in? So I always say, first of all, your appearance. How do you look as a pharmacy? So you go to a pharmacy and you walk in and you find someone who's not properly dressed. So how do you think I'm going to say to you, oh, I have a headache, I have a cold, how do you treat me? So with the customer service, we always say to pharmacists, saying, look, you need to, first of all, build integrity. And integrity comes in various ways. So we have...
I'm just going to stop it. We're going to take a break and we're going to come right back on that. Okay, so Michelle, you were saying something about integrity as a pharmacist.
So as a pharmacist, what happens when I walk into your pharmacy? So you need to show me you have an integral personality. So what I'm saying is, can I trust you as a pharmacist to say, look, I've got a headache, what do I take? So this is time for you to prove to me that you're a good pharmacist. So I say to you, you practice your WAM. So there's an acronym in the pharmacy industry where you practice your WAM. Who is it for? What is it for? How long have you been taking it? Do you have allergies and stuff? So if I walk in there, then I'm getting confidence. Oh, look, he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's saying. So I've sort of automatically gained your trust. Then I can now confidently say, okay, look, besides the cold and the headache, I think I have a pain at my back. So you see something's happening now. I'm not just coming to say I have a headache. I'm saying to you, look, I think instead of going to hospital, I can actually go to him and say, look, I have more problems than I have come with because I've gained, you've shown me you have integrity and then I'm gaining your trust and I'm able to say, look, then you are able to deliver as a pharmacy to me. And besides selling everyday selling in a pharmacy, I always say to pharmacists, look, you need to prove to us to say, look, I have it up here, I know what I'm talking about, and then I'm able to dispense the right drugs or whatever coming to the pharmacy.
Well, you know, there was something, you know, we're talking about off record that Ivy mentioned around. It's about trust.
Yeah.
I think you want to raise that issue again because it's about the trust that she's talking about.
I put myself in a situation that said if I go to a pharmacy, do I really trust that this guy knows what he's saying?
Yeah.
Can I trust, or are they cadence? Would I say, okay, so sometimes a headache maybe, but something that's a bit more serious, no, I'm going to go to the hospital. Why do we have that issue? Why can't I walk?
That's like in Nigeria,
yes,
where we still have this
trust when the pharmacist tells me this is what you should do.
I think sometimes we see the pharmacist as a salesperson. So I think we should break that norm to say a pharmacist is not a salesperson. Obviously, I would sell because I'm on the shop floor, definitely. But first of all, I come in as a pharmacist. I'm educated, I'm knowledgeable. So I come in there and I'm saying to you, look, this is who I am. What's wrong with you? Then I carry that, and then we go on the next.
But isn't that an issue in Nigeria, for example, where because we don't give that kind of, like she said, the trust that, because I would rather go to a doctor than go to a pharmacist and say, I have an unusual pain in my back.
Yeah.
Isn't that just a perception issue?
It's changing, actually. It's changing because it's now being recognized that the pharmacist has gone through a clinical training as well. So in the final year,
universities.
Oh yes, in the final year, we actually do clinical pharmacy to a large extent, and even we're coming out now with a program that, programs where you actually come out as a doctor of pharmacy. So that's been offered in certain schools. But in the UK, it's been advised that you should first take your child to the pharmacy. And the statistics are showing that up to 43% of people in Nigeria first go to the pharmacy before they go to the hospital. And the pharmacist then escalates issues to the medical doctor if it needs to be escalated.
Talking about escalation, like a typical example with the pharmacist we trained. So a patient walked into the pharmacy and said, this is my prescription. And the guy looked at it and said, ask a couple of questions. And the guy's, no, there's nothing wrong with me that way. And she goes, are you sure? There's been a pharmacist playing his role. And he was like, please call your doctor, just confirm your prescription. And then he called the doctor and the doctor said, oh, I think I probably misdiagnosed, gave you a wrong. So you see, so the pharmacist is very, very important.
That's the pharmacist that knows
I think we should tend to understand that a pharmacist and a doctor are two different things. So the pharmacists are the ones who, we call them the mixologists. So the ones who know the medicine better than the doctor. Am I right to say that?
Because it's pharmacology.
It's a specialty.
So that simple act actually saved that patient. So I think pharmacists, and the key thing is you need to prove your integrity to whoever walks into the shop. And integrity comes a lot of things. Your physical appearance, your confidence to say, look, you have a cold. What have you taken before? How long has it been for? Have you been to doctor? So I think those stuff would install confidence in whoever comes into the pharmacy to say, look, I need help or I want something to be done.
Okay, so I was going to talk about remuneration. So being the HR person here, I'm thinking, what's the average remuneration for a licensed pharmacist?
It depends. So it depends. Sometimes it also matters, and what matters is the length of time you have worked.
Okay.
And so let's talk about a fresh intern, someone who is coming to work right after graduation. That's before NYSC. Pharmacists must go through 1 year. And so the salary ranges from anything from 50 to 130. Depending on where you work. So it could be in a community pharmacy.
That's not bad.
The reality is 100 is not even enough to get you home sometimes. And you have certain needs. So we even say begin to add value and you can command more.
Exactly. Don't just come and demand.
Not demand. Don't demand. Add value and you can command more.
So of course we see, I mean, the opportunities are quite immense, even within the pharmaceutical sector or subsector of the health sector. And I think that, you know, today has been just good for, because I know quite a number of young pharmacists coming out of university. And like you said, the tendency is for them to want to change sectors and look for something else to do because they don't see the opportunities. But the opportunities are there, and of course we're going to be sharing some of that immediately we come back from this break.
Thank you.
Okay, so welcome back. We just had this fantastic conversation off camera. So I'll just let Bimbola clarify the issues that we're talking about right now.
So when you have an illness, ideally your medical doctor clerks you, understands the history, and then investigates. It might send you for a laboratory test or send you for another assessment and then make certain recommendations. So those recommendations, they help to then probably treat you or cure restore your health. And in most cases, it involves the medicine. So your prescription goes to a pharmacist. Because the pharmacist then sees that this prescription would address your need. But the community pharmacist is like a first level care provider. And so
because we needed to clarify
as we are trained,
that,
yes, at the community level, the pharmacist is trained to attend to symptoms that are simple: headaches, back pain, body aches, and then he can escalate to a doctor where needed.
Excellent, excellent. So I think that's understood. Because I mean, we had this conversation during the break. So we're not saying don't go to the hospitals anymore, don't see your doctors, but we're saying that there's a place for the community pharmacists within your communities. It's your first aid. That's where you go to for first aid, your first point of contact. And then, of course, he or she can escalate it to your doctor. So fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show. The opportunities I meant, I know that Advantage Health has a few opportunities. You're working together with the Pharmaceutical Council of Nigeria.
Yes,
Perhaps you want to very quickly share that,
Okay.
very, very quickly.
Yes, so the Pharmacist Council of Nigeria is the
Pharmacist Council,
regulator
yeah.
of pharmacy practice across Nigeria. And they have seen the paradox of we have few pharmacists in the country, yet we're losing some. And then for that internship year, we're seeing pharmacists are waiting or being kept for over a year to be placed. And so we're saying that let us equip them during that year. Let's give them some kind of motivation in additional pay. And then let us use that period for mentorship, for employability, upskilling, for entrepreneurship development, as well as some level of work on social public health issues, so that that year is meaningful and you begin to see things as opportunities rather than just challenges.
Fantastic. We will be sharing more information about that on our page, and I'm sure Ivy will do that. We have a few vacancies here as well, which will also go on all our social media pages. There's a customer network support engineer from Ericsson, and location is Lagos. So please check our Instagram page for this advert. Senior enterprise architect, which is also in Lagos. And then we have an acquisitions and legal officer. Job location is in Abuja. So check our pages, check all our social media pages, and if you please share our social media pages
So social
and
media
end the
pages
show.
are pretty simple. Instagram and Twitter, we have at Vacancy with Alibaba. Vacancy, VACANCY with Alibaba. Instagram and Twitter.
So thank you so much for joining us on this week's show, and we
Thank
hope
you.
that has been very good. Thank you to our guests.
Thank you for
Abimbola.
coming.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Michelle, for joining us. And my co-host today, Ivy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next week, Tuesday. Thank you for joining the show.